Okay, so for episode 4 of the Mastery podcast, we have George Roman, founder of Roman Empire Gym and business owner. So, pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Pleasure being here, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, so actually, I love your story. And actually, we've talked a little bit, but in like researching a little bit more about your story, one of the coolest things, which some people, in today's culture might not seem cool at the beginning, but obviously now it is cool because of, the success. But so at 25, you made your first million in revenue.
25 years old, yes, sir.
But until 27, you were living at home with your parents.
Yes, I was.
Can you tell me a little bit more of like the background and how in a society today where delayed gratification is harder and harder with social media and things like that, how did you manage to kind of, stay humble in a sense and like really, not go out and go showy before like the business actually was properly off the ground?
Well, all the money that we were making was going back into the business. So I never actually saw $1 million in my bank account kind of thing, you know? As I was making money, I kept reinvesting back into the gym, buying new equipment, expanding into a larger facility. That was always the end goal. So all the money that I was making, I was putting aside for that big purchase. So to me, I was broke. I mean, because I had like this idea of expanding. So I just didn't want to touch any of the profits that we were making at the time. And to me, it just made more sense to stay at home, save that money, and put that money towards expanding,
Yeah.
the business.
And did that mindset or kind of like mentality of reinvesting into the business, was that always the same from day one? Or like did someone like guide you in the right direction? Or like where did you get that mentality from? Because I feel like that's not necessarily intuitive. A lot of people they think, oh well, if I just made a little bit of money from the business, I can spend that. But no, you were reinvesting it. Like what made you think that way?
Well, I wanted to create something that stood out in the area, at the time. And so I actually started this when I was 19 years old. I wanted to open up my gym. I was big into fitness. I never really saw that as like, oh, I'm gonna make a ridiculous money out of it. It was more like I'm passionate about the fitness scene. I want to be a bodybuilder one day. That was my thing when I was 19 years old. I want to create a place where I can train and other people can train as well, like-minded people that are into fitness and bodybuilding and just serious lifting in general. So at 19 years old, that's when I started buying used gym equipment. I started buying and selling used gym equipment at the time. So from 19 to 23, that's when I was actually able to open up my first gym, which was Roman Iron Gym. Small 6,000 square foot warehouse, no AC or anything like that. So when we transitioned to that, a couple of months in, I realized that we had something special there because of the people's reaction. Like 6 months in, we already had a few hundred members in there, and I was just like, "Wow, this is good. Like this feels good. Just having so many positive feedback." I was like, I want thousands of people to have access to this. Obviously the building at the time couldn't sustain that because of how small it was. So that was the next thing. I was like, I have a 3-year lease here. So that means that I have 3 years to get out of here and blow this up into a larger space. Yeah. But then we got hit with COVID. So, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. And I hate saying that just because of how negative it impacted everything. But that's, if I had to pinpoint the reason why we are currently here, and it's because of that 100%.
Yeah. And I feel like, there's a lot of things that would have been skipped over in the first 6 months to you like seeing the reaction of people loving it.
Yes.
A lot of people they maybe think about having a business or, especially today in today's day and age, people think of gyms as they know it's a hard business, right? Because it's competitive, especially in America. People love the gym. Like from day one, did you go into it, you had that passion, but was the goal to make money in a sense?
No, I mean, if we rewind back to 2018 when I first started the gym, gyms were known to not make money. So I went in
You already
there.
knew it,
I
yeah.
already knew it. I was like, if I can make a decent living out of this, doing something that I enjoy, I'll do that every day. So I went in there knowing that the cap was probably very low. You know, it wasn't until probably, like I said, after COVID when everything blew up. Right after that, the whole fitness scene blew up after that. But no, prior to that, that was not the intention. But it worked out that way.
Yeah. So
Yes.
would you say it was more like maybe going and following a passion in a sense? Like that was really the motivation.
Yes, 100%. For me, at least, yeah.
Yeah. So even going further back into your story, like, so you came from Mexico to the US at 8 years old, if I'm correct. And you mentioned, in another podcast that through your younger years, it was definitely difficult. Growing up not speaking the language, coming to the US, and then like feeling maybe a bit lost in your teens, not knowing what to do. Like, can you talk a bit, before, obviously the success and just really taking it back to the beginning? Like, you know, can you just talk to me more about that? When you were feeling lost, were you trying different things? Were things just not working? What made fitness become the avenue where you're like, okay, well, that's the right one to go down?
Okay. Well, when I first came here, I was 8 years old, and yeah, I came here. I didn't speak the language. I was not. I was very out of my comfort zone as a kid. It's tough because you have to go to school. There's other kids. The environment changes a little bit. I don't know if you've ever been to Mexico, but from there to here, two different worlds. And when I first came here, I was like I was like thrown off at a young age. I was like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know why I'm here. Everything looked a lot different. So whenever they put me to school, it was tough because I couldn't communicate with anybody at the time because most of the kids, spoke English. There was a handful that spoke Spanish, but not a lot of them. So I had a hard time learning the language, making friends, and just adapting to this society. So it was tough in that sense, but luckily, my parents were awesome. They've always been very supportive in every way possible. So I was able to talk to them. I was able to vent to them, and luckily that we had a good relationship. So that helped me get through everything. So just the day to day life, going to school, learning the language, making friends. Over time, once I was able to do all of those things, then it became the other side of things. So I guess being like an immigrant, right? I dealt like many immigrants. A lot of there was a lot of racism at the time.
Especially in Texas. I mean, that's notorious
Yeah,
for,
it was tough, and I got to see not just my personal self, but my parents as well. Other people being rude to them just because maybe they have an accent and things like that. So yeah, I got to kind of like see all of that, and I guess at a young age, when I was 14, I always told my dad that I was gonna do something, that I was gonna do something big. I would always have conversations to him about that. I just didn't know what it was, but I knew that the possibilities were endless, And the only downside to my specific scenario was that I was not born here, so I didn't have access to a social security at the time. I didn't have a driver's license, so I couldn't get a job anywhere, man. That was one of the things that I didn't have going for me. But I lived at home. I had good parents and just a good family in general. So I try to lean into that as much as possible. And so when I was 16, I started working at a used tire shop. They're very like common here in Texas. You'll see them everywhere. So I started working at a used tire shop, and that's when I started developing like skills of selling and just working out in the sun. I did that for a very long time, basically from 16 all the way up to 23. That's when I stopped doing that, and so I learned a lot, and I started like gaining contact with certain people that helped along the way of to where I'm at today, basically. So yeah, that whole transition was tough. But it wasn't whenever I got to like when I was 16 when I was like, you know what? I guide the ship. I know I control where this thing goes. So that's when I, kind of like took the initiative to just go in there and just give it my all and go somewhere with it.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned
But
that.
but with the fitness thing, I guess I just saw that as like the outlet, like something that I can control. You can control how much work you put into the gym, and then you see the results. So like a lot of people probably feel the same way too. That's why they go for the gym route, right? You go in there, you work out by yourself, you put on your headphones, you block the whole world out, and it's just you for those 1 to 2 hours. So that was my outlet.
Yeah, like you have control of all the variables, and
Yes.
yeah, and so that was something that you loved, and you kind of fell in love with the progress, and you got deeper and deeper into that because of that aspect.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, and then so on the side, building up to actually going out and getting your gym, I believe for 187,000
$187,000. Yes,
at
sir.
23 years old. So to build up to that, that's again a whole like little journey, right? So
Yes.
was it just selling used car parts or cars, and also buying and selling gym equipment, or was there any other kind of side hustle or
It
kind of
was a
like?
combination of three things. I was doing the 9 to 5 at the tire shop, at the used tire shop, and then I would buy and sell used cars because I ran into a good friend. I don't speak to that friend anymore, but at the time he was a good friend. He had a car lot, and I was able to purchase cars through him. So I would buy and sell cars. And then at 19, that's when I was like, you know what? I want to start my own gym. I started buying gym equipment, and it went to the point where I started buying like whole gyms, like gyms that were going out of business. And now I would go in there, bring all the equipment, here to Houston, and then I would sell it on Craigslist and OfferUp and stuff like that. Same thing with the cars. All that was up for sale on OfferUp and Craigslist. So that's where I made a lot of my money from. But I was still doing the 9 to 5 to fund those purchases.
Interesting. So like when the business model is, so there's a business that isn't working and then they're selling their business, but it's probably at like a discounted rate because
Yes.
they can't afford things.
Yeah, and I would go in there, purchase
And how do you do that?
everything.
Like, is that on a website or like, was that just,
Yeah, there was all of this was for sale on Craigslist.
yeah,
Yeah, like full gyms were for
full
sale on
gyms?
Craigslist. Yeah, this is obviously over 10 years ago, but I don't know if that's still a thing. But at the time, it was really big. So then I would go in there, I would load everything up in the trailer, and I would come back and I would take pictures of everything. I would store it in storage unit, take pictures of everything, put it up on Craigslist, and the machines that I liked, I put those aside for my future gym because that was the end goal. I wanted to open up my own gym.
Yeah, interesting. And would you just keep that? Like, where would you keep that? So you'd sell equipment, but some of that you keep in your like your house or?
No, I was at least three storage units.
Oh, really?
Two storage units were the equipment that I was selling, and one of them was like the machines that I was going to keep. Eventually, I ended up doing two whole units for the equipment I was going to keep, and I started selling less the closer I got to opening up the gym.
Yeah. So would you say like you mentioned when you got the business at 23, you had no prior business experience in a sense. Like you'd worked in the car shop and you'd bought and sold things, but like, would you say at heart you're an entrepreneur? As in, like, you always in your mind had the idea of owning your own business one day? Or like, when you're saying to dad, I'm gonna make it, like, was it always that you were gonna own a business? Or, was it just that you love fitness and then that passion expanded and then, maybe got inspiration from some people and then like the kind of that one door opened up, you know what I'm saying? You just saw an opportunity. Was it which one was it?
Well, I had the idea was always to open a business because I couldn't get a job anywhere at the time. I mean, from 16 to 19, it was a 19 when I was able to get my driver's license and I got a social security. But prior to that, I couldn't get a job anywhere. So it wasn't like an entrepreneur mindset or anything like that. I don't think that was really a thing at the time. That became like a term, like a popular term recently, not too long ago, maybe like 5 years ago. And but at the time, no. I mean, I wanted to start my own business because that was my only option. I couldn't get a job anywhere. So that was always in the back of my head for those from 16 to 19. By the time I was able to get a job places, I already had my whole system set up. I was already working a 9 to 5 at a used tire place. I was already selling used cars. I was already making over $10,000 a month at the time. And then whenever I dove into like the buying and selling gym equipment, that's when that kind of like took off. I can't remember like the month that I made like the most amount of money, but I was doing pretty good at the time. Oh
Yeah.
yes,
No, awesome.
yes, yes, yes. But it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of work. There's a few friends that still work here with me that kind of like got to see that a little bit, just a little bit. And I mean, there was days where I would be up for 36 hours, long days, long days.
And
Yes,
that's making them just trying to make more income, just
trying to
trying
make
to.
more income.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moving parts, a
Yeah.
lot of moving parts at the time. But I wanted to open up my own gym, and I needed money. And a lot of people, and this is what's wrong with society nowadays. I tell them the story, and sometimes they're like, "Well, how did you come up with $187,000 by 23?" You just work. It's really not that hard to do. A lot of people just have very low limitations in their minds and they think something like that it's hard to do, and they don't realize there's kids that are 20, 19 years old making millions of dollars a year, and like that's becoming more of a thing nowadays. You have young individuals that are making ridiculous amount of money. 10 years ago it was no different. It just required a little bit more work just because social media wasn't so big as it is right now.
Yeah. Did you always have that mindset, even at that age, like what surely there weren't too many other people around you making that kind of money at that young age. Like, from my experience, there's not too many people and like, I think there's like a statistic, like the average American has, I think it's like $8,000 in their savings. So like a lot of Americans don't have that, right? Like were you like a complete outlier in your circle, or did you already from a young age surround yourself around other people, who were like really doing things financially well?
Well, I never really. I don't think I had anybody that was making that money at the time around me, but I never really saw the money. Like I said, I would always make it, and it was gone by the end of the month. So I never really got to see the money. Same thing when I was 25. When my CPA told me that we made X amount of money in that calendar year, I
You're
was
like,
just
I don't
like,
know where that
I was just
is.
like, where is it at? It was all gone, man. It's just pouring it back into the business. It wasn't until I was 27 when I actually put money aside to buy my first like exotic car, and I got my apartment and all those fun things. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So one other thing is, just a off the side kind of question. So with AI coming in, do you think that's going to interrupt the business in any way? Because I think one thing I was thinking about the gym business, owning a gym, people are going to be still working out probably in 1,000 years. So is a business where it's hard to get into. There's big overheads. Like from a business perspective, people maybe compare it to like a restaurant as one of the hardest things. But like if you can get that down, people are going to be working out for a long time. No robot's going to make you work out, or at least I can't see that happening, right? Is that something that you were thinking about, or it really just was like again? It was by necessity. You had to make this business, and this is like just an opportunity, and it came up, and you jumped on it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna affect the gym space. If anything, I think it's gonna make the experience better on our end. I think AI, it's just gonna make it a lot easier to stay in touch with customers. That's my.
The
That's what
back
I
end
think.
of the
Yeah,
business.
that's
Yeah.
just what I think. Yeah, yeah. But I don't see that as like affecting the gym space anytime soon. Yeah. And let's say like not AI, but I think the only thing that would probably disrupt is like if there was like a way where you can take a pill or something, not have to work out and have the results, that you would have.
Well, they got Ozempic now, but it's not exactly giving you muscle. It's just,
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
like steroids, but you don't have to work out, to
yeah,
gain
yeah,
muscle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and so another thing that I want to touch on. So going into the first gym again. You mentioned the first 6 months you saw success, and like you know, for some business owners, like they're not going to see success quickly. And I know it wasn't just success. There was a lot of ups and downs along your journey to even just kind of treating yourself at a point at 27, right? Um, but at the start there, you said at the first 6 months, you saw the kind of progress. That how did you get the customers in the door without really social media being a thing? With again, there's probably other gyms in the area. Like, how did you actually get those first couple customers? I feel like that's something which I don't know. It's again not obvious, right?
It was a lot of word of mouth, but to get those people to go in there in the first place, it was a lot of marketing, different styles of marketing. So at the time, whenever I first started, gyms were very boring. I mean, you looked at their Instagram, Facebooks, they were all flyers, and it just wasn't fun. So whenever I came in with a friend of mine. He took over all the social media side of things at the time, and I was like, I want to do videos. I want to reach out to. It's gonna sound funny, but I want to reach out to all the hot girls in the area, and I want to bring them in here and
And all
film.
the guys are gonna want to come as
Yeah,
well.
and then
Yeah.
film free content, right? And I want to post them on the Instagram page, and it was a win-win. They got free content, and we got to use them to kind of like bring other people in, right? So that was my marketing strategy at the time. It sounds silly, but it worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know. So at first it was just girls, and we started reaching out to men that looked apart, because we wanted to promote that hardcore bodybuilding.
So in the first 6 months, that's already the case.
That was already the case.
So that was
yeah.
that was the first marketing strategy, was to just
Yes, I had like 3 years of planning prior to that, so that was always in the back of my head. And I think I saw at the time I saw what Christian Guzman was doing on YouTube, making like those high quality edits and content, and I was like, well, I want to do the exact same thing, but on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we adopted that format, and then we applied it to Instagram, and it worked. People liked it. And we were already at like, I think within the first 3 months, we were already at like 350 something members. Really? When we got to that 6 month mark, we were already at 400 members. And it just went up from there.
Yeah. Did you think of it like people call it avatar? I believe they call it an ICP. Like, did you have that in the back of your mind? Like when you started, like, this is going to be my angle of the kind of person I want coming to the gym.
Yes, we had a female version of that and a male version of that. Yes.
Can you take
and
us?
those are the only people that I would reach out to film free content for. So those are the people that we were blasting on social media.
Can you give me a bit more, what I'm saying, like a context on who that person was? Just so I can kind of.
Yeah, so I guess from a male's perspective, just somebody that was in shape, lean individual that looked like he could step on stage tomorrow and do great, you know.
Mm.
And for
Like a
female,
beach body look.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then for female, same exact same thing. Somebody that looked like worked out, for somebody that can step on stage and kill in a bikini or something like that. Yeah, those were the two like people that we were always reach out to and bring in.
And was influencing even like, so obviously that was on Instagram. Like, was that even like a thing back there? There were people with like still big followings. Even there's probably a few, but like that wasn't. That was still pretty new.
That was still pretty new. Yeah, that was still very, very new. Most of the content that I would watch was still on YouTube.
Yeah.
There was no TikTok. Instagram wasn't really that big as it is right now. So yeah, it was mainly social media wasn't the influencer thing was not a thing back then.
Yeah. And you say you were planning for 3 years. Is that like, reading books? Is that, you mentioned like you didn't have any business experience. Like, I'm sure you didn't have a mentor, or maybe you did have a mentor.
I no,
No
I didn't
mentor.
read any books, nothing.
So how did like did you just thought of that the avatar? You didn't see that in like a book or anything, or like that's how you
I
market?
just thought it was common sense at the time, I
Okay,
guess.
no,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I never I didn't do a lot of research, I guess, on the back end of things, which I should have, but I just saw it as common sense. Let's reach out to this specific people so that way we can attract those specific people. And then we started hosting open gyms. We're, I think, one of the first gyms that started doing that every single
It's like a
weekend.
lead magnet.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we would bring in a lot of people, man. Like we have videos of the parking lot at the time.
And then you
we have-
video it, and then you post that as
and
well.
then we'd repost that, and it was like the place to be. So we wanted to advertise
Like
this
FOMO.
as like this is like if you're a meathead, this is a place for you to be at, right? And we would host those every single Sunday, man. And I mean, we would blow up every single Sunday. Like the parking lot was full. There was a ridiculous amount of people in there. During the summer, it was like really hot. So it was even hotter in there, man. But people liked it. So all we did was recorded that. We showcased that on social media, and then the next gym was bigger. The next open gym was bigger. Like it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And so we took them away, and a lot of those people that enjoyed the atmosphere that we had, they ended up signing up. So it was a good thing that we took them away because that's when we acquired a ridiculous amount of members during
see,
that
yeah.
time frame. Yeah.
It's literally like someone using like a software product like ChatGPT for free, and then they get addicted to it, or like they like it, and then they need to pay for it, but they like it so much they're gonna keep paying for it.
Yeah, I did that unknowingly.
So yeah, I feel like yeah.
Oh yeah, like
No, it's just business, like maybe just like innate, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, it was just like let's just give it away for free. Let's get them addicted, and let's just charge for it later on.
the thing is, you say it's common sense, but I actually want to bring up a story which I had the other day, and it actually really made me think of you, because I met someone who'd come from another state. He was a gym owner, and the reason he was traveling is he just sold his business at like 29. So he at a similar age, I believe you're 30 right now.
30, Mr.
So like at a similar age, maybe around 23, he started his own gym, and he got inspiration from Christian Guzman.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think it was interesting because, you mentioned that Christian Guzman has been an inspiration for you starting the gym, but look at you now. And then, I don't like, hopefully this guy doesn't see this video, but he sold the gym because it wasn't seeing the success. And like, he tried for like 7 years. He was definitely like quite bitter about it. Like not like happy because I don't know, he saw it, and then he was convinced that like there's maybe investors, or like Christian Guzman had like a lot of, the reason is just money. But like, obviously from your story, money isn't just the only reason a gym works or doesn't work. There's all these other things that you could be doing.
Yeah.
So I just it did hit me because some people look at this gym and they'll be like, oh man, maybe it was easy, or they won't understand what went into it. Or like they must say, oh, to make a gym like this, you must have a huge investment to start with, like from outside sources. But I think the one of the problems, and I don't know the whole story, but like you're mentioning reinvesting and keep on growing. You have tons of equipment. It's an amazing product you have here. And I think at the end of the 7 years, this person still had just like a small CrossFit gym, and he never like expanded it or made the product better. So I guess like, if customers are not like word of mouth, spreading, etc., like, and you're not reinvesting it back into the business, it's just harder and harder to sell the same thing. You know what I mean? As opposed to like the product getting better and it almost selling itself.
For sure.
But yeah, I just thought, there are people out there who have tried exactly what you've done with a similar inspiration, but they have not ended up in the same space. So I don't know, like if that, it's just a story, that I had the other day.
The thing is, a lot of gym owners think they think that they're selling a gym, but it's an experience, and that's what it's turning into. So if you can't deliver a good experience, and if you can't build a brand around that experience, then you're gonna fail 100%, man. And if you notice how important branding has been nowadays, branding is everything, man. You focus on branding, you focus on creating a great experience, you provide great customer service, and that's it, man. That's That's a formula for winning. 100%.
Do you think that, the lessons maybe in that car workshop, where you work when you're younger, like those lessons in customer service, for example, that you must have learned around that time, or even maybe not being able to get a job so easily, like you really understood the value of like taking care of a customer, providing a great service. Like, do you think that translated into your success now with, again, just the product being so good?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, 100%. That was like I didn't know that I was learning for this specific reason, but everything that I learned back then, I mean, I applied it to what I do now, and yeah, I think that if I hadn't done what I did back then maybe I wouldn't be able to see a customer, as how I'm currently viewing a customer,
Yeah.
But you have to treat them, I mean, like they're friends, You
Yeah.
make a friend, you make a sale.
100%, yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay. And in marketing, like, that must have developed over time in, obviously it starts with the open gyms and even today, I mean, you've done one and it just went absolutely crazy. You mentioned 2,000 members, I believe, in a week. 2,000 people have come from outside the gym in a
For
week.
our open gym, for our 7-year anniversary, yeah, we had over 2,000 people come in. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That have never been here.
Yeah. How has the marketing strategies evolved, with social media? Obviously, you have a great page. I think you mentioned though that that's not like crazy getting like customers in a sense, but obviously you've grown the social media side of things. But how does marketing evolve as the business evolves? When you have more, capital, etc.
The perceived value definitely changes 100%. I think that's one of the reasons why we're able to charge what we charge monthly because of the perceived value of things. People perceive Roman as like a big gym and like a very well known gym. So definitely that allows that makes them want to be part of it. So that we've seen that sort of like success when it comes to having a big social media platform, but the people that are going to come here and sign up are local people. So although it's good to have a good social media presence, it's good to have also like a good like word of mouth presence as well too.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like in your marketing, for me, one thing that stands out completely is, I mean, the product is almost like, do you view that still as like the main marketer? Because I come in here and I've been to a lot of gyms in the UK. I went to this gym called King's Gym. I don't know if you heard of it. It was a really good gym. I've been to just a ton of gyms, Gold Gym Venice, um, other gyms. And the equipment here is probably the best of any gym I've ever been to. And obviously, you mentioned that when you were maybe younger, you did bodybuilding. And so, you had like an eye for that.
Yes.
But again, you've also mentioned that it's not about building the gym that you want, it's about building the gym that your customers want, right?
Yeah.
So like how have you been able to get the equipment to be as good as it is in a sense? Like is like you picking it up or are you like taking surveys of the people who are here and like getting what they ask? Because you have a ton of equipment. Like what's the thought process behind getting the equipment
I
that you
think
get?
that I have a pretty good eye for what I think people are gonna like,
Mm.
just because I was very big into fitness at some point. I was in love with the whole bodybuilding thing, and every time that I went into like a gym and I saw like this weird like rare piece of equipment, I would like fanboy over it. If it was like a machine that I saw like on social, like on YouTube, or like Ronnie Coleman used it, or Jay Cutler was using it, and then I see it, I'm like, wow, like this is here. I get excited and I wanted to use it. So I'm like, still to this day, I want to keep creating that feeling inside of not just current members, but new members as well too. Like I want people to walk in here and look at all the stuff that we have and have that exact same reaction that I did, because I know what it's like to be a customer as well too.
It's like a kid in a playground, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I want to keep, but I want members that have been here for years to feel that exact same way whenever they come in and I bring in a new machine. So that's why I'm big on like reinvesting back into the gym. And my way of reinvesting is just by bringing in new equipment that I know people are gonna like.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I can keep developing that feeling of like, oh wow, I've never used that before, or like, oh, I've seen that in a YouTube video, and if I can keep creating that for people, I think people are gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, I can 100% see that for me from a bodybuilding perspective. From the powerlifting perspective, like, how did you get an eye for that? Because you didn't do powerlifting yourself, I'm assuming,
No,
but you
but I
have
was
like a
very
crazy amount of powerlifting equipment as well.
yeah, I became very familiar with the whole powerlifting scene when I opened my first gym. For some reason, we attracted a lot of powerlifters at the time, and they educated me a little bit on the, just powerlifting side of things, the equipment. And I was like, okay, well, we don't have to be just a bodybuilding gym. We can do both. I didn't have the space back then that I do now, but that was one of the things that I wanted to expand on in this facility and in future facilities too. I want to have both, because why not? I don't want to be just a bodybuilding one a gym. I want to be just like an athlete's gym. Anybody that's taking their fitness seriously, like I want to create their the gym for them.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, that's been part of our marketing strategy for forever now.
Yeah, and so the avatar, like, it's not as simple as just what it was at the beginning. Like, would you even say you have an avatar now, or it really just you have like such a versatile amount of bodybuilding equipment, powerlifting equipment, CrossFit equipment that it almost just I don't know. It doesn't. There's no one particular person you're going after anymore. It's just a range
It's a range now, because we want to attract any, because I don't want to just attract bodybuilders or powerlifters.
because you're limiting yourself in a sense.
Anybody that's looking into getting actual results, we want to be the place for them. We want to create the atmosphere for them. You come in here, you train here for a month, and you're gonna see progress if you're doing your stuff at home. If you're following your meal plan, if whatever the goal may be, if you want to lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is, I want those people in here. Not necessarily that want to compete, but people that want to look like they could compete, kind of thing. Because I feel like that's fitness is becoming a lot of that too. There's a lot of people that are working out just to look good, for health purposes, and they just want to be healthy. We want to attract a lot of those people too, man.
Yeah, 100%. And as the business has gone from being the old one to moving here at 25, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you can't do that all yourself. At the beginning, you said you're working 24, 36-hour days, wearing all the hats.
Yes.
At what point did you start to like get a team involved? Actually, start delegating, allowing different people to wear different hats, and like, what were those main ones that you delegated at the beginning to make sure that you could have a bit of time back?
So it was, as soon as I started making money to where I could hire people. Yeah, because that was the toughest part, getting to that point where I could actually hire managers, full time, content creator, and more staff.
Yeah,
It wasn't until I got to that point where I was like, okay, I can actually hire people now. That's part of the reason why I didn't really take a paycheck for the first 5 years I was in business,
yeah,
because most of the money was going into developing those things.
yeah,
So the first person that we brought in for me was common sense. I'll be manager. Let me just hire a bunch of staff members so that way I don't have to work the front desk anymore.
yeah,
That took me like 2.5 years
yeah,
to get those systems in place for me to do that. And then once I was like, okay, well, now we're fully staffed, everything is good. I don't have to work the front desk anymore. Let me go ahead and bring in a manager, someone that can take off my spot.
yeah,
I brought in a manager, then I brought in another manager, and then full-time content creator, because we want to focus more on social media, because that's what brings a lot of the people in the area here. It's word of mouth and social media. So I want to put more efforts on that. So that's when we brought in a full-time content creator.
yeah,
And now I'm not as involved anymore, but it took 7 years to make that happen. And it costs a lot of money. And obviously throughout the time frame, I mean, we made a lot of mistakes on our end. We cycled through people like crazy, staff members, managers, and we've learned a lot on the way.
yeah.
So yeah,
What are some of those biggest lessons that you've learned from all the mistakes with hiring over the last 7 years?
just take your time when it comes to the hiring process of things, man. Yeah, really get to know the individual that you're about to bring.
Lots of interviews, or what I'm saying, or like trial runs, or
A lot of interviews, 100%, and just like don't hire too fast. And whenever something goes south, make sure to fire fast.
what's the worst kind of things that happen in the gym? They're just like not good to customers, or they don't.
Yeah, just people that bring in not the energy that we try to provide at the front. Because what I tell all my staff members and managers is that as soon as a person walks in, it doesn't matter how great the gym is or the product is. If they have a bad interaction with whoever's working the front desk, that's going to kill their whole experience. So as soon as a customer walks in, we want to make sure that we deliver a great energy, great customer
Culture of
service,
positivity.
something that aligns with the product itself, something that aligns with it. So some people weren't delivering that. Everything looked good on paper, but once it came down to performance, it just wasn't there. So
The energy wasn't there. The
no,
enthusiasm.
and then sometimes because I didn't want to go through the whole hiring process all over again, you kind of like you put up with it at the beginning.
I
And
see.
then,
Yeah,
then you realize that it's only getting worse. So then it starts affecting your business, because now you're losing customers because people aren't connecting with the gym because of that specific individual that's at the front. So now it's costing you money, and then you go through the firing process, and then sometimes people don't like to just leave and walk out. Sometimes they can be very very hard headed. So yeah, take your time when it comes to the hiring process, 100%.
yeah, 100%. And obviously, having met some of your staff, some great, people for sure. What do you think about when it comes to like A players, like those people who really like have that high energy, they're competent, they're skilled, they're good to be around. Like, how did you find these people and attract them to your business? Did you like, was it through friends? Did you like, put job offerings on like, I don't know, Indeed or something like that? Or like, how did you come across the best people that you've hired in the end?
I think just by actually, like I said, taking our time to actually hiring people, man. But yeah, we currently have three A players, man, and it's awesome. I think as long as you can not just pay them well, pay those people very well, and those three people usually take up majority of our payroll, of our monthly payroll. So make sure that they're taken care of in that aspect of things. Another thing is they can get bored really fast, so make sure they always have projects, ready to go and new set of skills that you would want them to learn, not just to enhance the business, but to enhance their pay as well. One of the things that I personally like to do is the more the individual has to offer, I mean, the more they're going to get paid. You go out and you focus on after work and you start learning certain skills, that can enhance the business.
Yeah.
I'm going to reward you for it, once we start applying them and we're seeing some growth
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And what are those most valuable skills that you've come across? Like, I'm assuming, maybe digital marketing or, just probably just energy within
It
it's a huge
depends
one.
on the individual's
Yeah.
position. Yeah. Like for example, as a manager, if somebody can, if the manager right now, she's learning more about how to properly go about sales with the team. So if she can develop the skill of like, okay, we're gonna do a whole hour of diving into sales, and she kills it, then obviously that's a skill that I need because then I don't have to step in there and do that myself.
See,
When
yeah.
it comes to my content creating guy, recently started learning how to run ads because we've never run an ad before. So we're trying to dive into how to create a
It's
landing
like local
page.
people in the area to come to the gym, obviously.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're trying to dive in more into that. Obviously, that's another skill that this individual is possessing. So the more valuable that the person becomes for the company, that's going to reflect their pay.
Yeah, yeah,
And
100%.
I like that for the team that I currently have. I don't have to go out of my way and ask for these things. These are things that they're already doing,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, for that, obviously, I want to keep them around here a lot longer.
Yeah.
And usually, the way to keep them around here is by providing a good atmosphere, a good sense of belonging, and providing good pay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And when it comes to like having those people hired in the first place, and then obviously, you're also mentioning, I guess, when you start the business, some of those roles, they're not set in stone. Like, yeah, I'm sure like the desk job isn't as hard as like a content creator. Like, content creator is way more like, there's way more things that you could do, there's way more possibilities. How have you gone about implementing the standard operating procedures? Is that something that was difficult at the beginning? Like, you were just wearing all the hats and overwhelmed, but then like to get order into it, like you wrote that down, or like how did you get these job roles like systematically written out in a way so someone else could just come in and follow it, and then eventually with your goal of expanding out, you can just use that model to actually help scale the business way faster.
It was just more like a learn as you go kind of thing. There was a few things that I was very familiar with when it came to customer service that we still to this day, we still use sales task tactics as well too that we're still using, and we try not to be too pushy, like oh you got to sign up or anything like that. We just like to when a customer walks in, we'll like for them to make the judgment if this is something that they want to be a part of,
Yeah.
right? And if they do, then that's great. And if they don't, then we just come back and visit us, on a guest pass or something like that. But
Yeah.
we're not a good fit for everybody, and this is what I tell my staff all the time. It's okay if they do not want to sign up at this facility because sometimes it can be a little intimidating. So we try to provide that as best as possible, not being too pushy.
So one thing I also wanted to touch on is through your early 20s, and there's definitely, again, with entrepreneurship being a bigger thing, there's people that be starting companies, and it's probably a lot harder than they thought it would be. Like, maybe social media, they thought one thing, or, they understand that if they want like maybe a certain, they want to build something, or like they want to achieve a certain financial outcome in their life, they need to probably own an asset, or they need to create a company or something like that. But, as you're saying, for a lot of the time, like, was there times where you literally couldn't, it was hard to see the light, like throughout the 20s, like, and even from you're talking about you're working, these long hour days, can you touch on maybe like the loneliness side of things? Like, is that something you experienced, like, when you were kind of just battling this on your own, trying to figure it out? Like, is that something that you like struggled with in a sense?
No, not me personally. No, no. Because I always, like I said, I had a good relationship with my parents. So, I mean, from 19 to 23, I was single, didn't go out with friends. I had no friends because I was so busy, doing the 9 to 5, the gym equipment, selling the car things, and I was still working out. So I didn't have time to do anything outside of that. The only friends that I had, it was just people that I talked to, was at the gym. So I had a few people in there that I would socialize, but only at the gym. I never really hung out with anybody outside of that. So no, it wasn't lonely because I was so busy. I mean, I didn't have time to sit there and like, think about how lonely I
Contemplate.
was
Yeah,
or
yeah,
no,
yeah.
man. No, no, no. I just saw it as part of it. I had a mission and I wanted to get to that point where I can look back and just see all the fruits of my labor, and I just wanted to get there as fast as possible. So I never looked back. I never like sat and like realized like, oh, I'm very lonely kind of thing.
Yeah. But with regards to seeing the success of it now, like, could you see that vision the whole time? Like, you were just sure it was going to happen, or there times during the business where it was maybe slower, or I don't know, things like COVID coming up, or just things that were unexpected. You know, was that light ever hard to see?
No, I always had a good visualization. Hope
Yeah,
I'm pronouncing it
yeah,
right. Of what the outcome was going to look like.
yeah.
100%. Like I remember talking to people before I had opened up the gym. I mean, I would just close my eyes and I would see the walkways of equipment in the gym, and the smell. Like I could see it, I could smell it, I could feel it. Like I was there. Like I wasn't already a thing, but I could just see myself in there.
And that's from like 19, or
Yeah, I mean, when I was like 21 and
yeah.
started like, okay, I actually have a decent amount of equipment now. I would just visualize myself using this is dumb, but using the equipment in my facility already. I didn't know what the facility was going to look like, but I knew what general layout that I wanted to go with. So I was able to like see it before it happened. So I just kept holding on to that. But obviously, whenever everybody kept closing the door and they didn't want to lease it building to me, that's when it started getting a little challenging and demotivating. 100%.
Mm.
Yeah,
So the hardest thing was actually not when the business had started, like it was actually getting the business off the
getting the
ground. But
business off the ground. Yeah.
But when it was going, yeah, within 6 months, you already had that success. You had proof of, the people loving the equipment and the environment, etc. So did that
Yes.
give you like a lot of motivation to be like, you know, I already see this in my head. Other people are seeing it. Like, let's just keep going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, I fell in love with the excitement that I could see in people's faces whenever they saw the gym. It was just something that I built, so I was like super proud of it. And I was like, how do I get thousands of people to see this? And that's when that idea of like, let's make this bigger started. I want to provide this to thousands of people, and that was the end goal after that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So there's no plan B.
No plan B. No,
No
no,
plan
no.
B. Yeah, 100%. So with regards to your mindset, and like you mentioned that when you started, like you thought maybe like 10K, 20K, if you could make that, you said you like went to like other gyms and you would like ask them, how do you do this? How do you do that? Like how much are you making? And then like, at the beginning, 10, 20K, I'll be happy with this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
How has that changed, as you've grown in business, seen the world like from maybe a different angle of like, maybe interacting with other people that are founders of companies, etc. Like, how has your mindset expanded as your business has expanded?
Well, the I think that the bigger the how do I say this? The bigger, because we have the more money you start making, the bigger things you want,
Bigger
right?
vision could be.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the vision that I currently have for this is ginormous. I see this as Roman being everywhere. But then you look at the amount of money that you're making, and it becomes smaller. Even if it's millions of dollars, it's whenever you have this, and then you're only bringing in this. I just don't see that as a lot of money. I guess just because I know that this is going to require a ridiculous amount, a lot more. So it's the same thing. When I was making $20,000 a month, I saw me being in a bigger facility, and I knew that that wasn't going to cut it. So then I never saw that as a lot of money. I just I just knew I had to get more so I can get to this place that I'm currently in.
Yeah. And has it been just through your business, or like has talking with other people, or even just probably, as you're looking to scale more and like, move this is going to be your original location, but you're looking to maybe move 5 to 10 locations in Houston,
Yeah.
you know, in like when you're thinking bigger and there's more money involved, like has that expansion of like how you think about money happen just because of your business, or like has that now that you've started, you've met a lot more people on the way, and you talk with them, and then that also grows your vision, if that makes sense? Like, is it just because of what you're doing, or is it because also the people that you're around, they think bigger because you know different people now?
I think it's just because of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's only one individual that I've actually had the pleasure of actually talking to about business, and that is Tony, the guy that owns Fusion Gyms in Philadelphia. We spent a whole day with him, and I was able to pick his brain on some of the projects that he's working on. I mean, this guy's spending $5 to $10 million on one project. So hearing numbers like that makes me realize, okay, well, that's how much I need to be at to get to that point, you know? So all of a sudden, what you're making just becomes smaller. And then because the end goal just keeps getting bigger and bigger, you know? I'm sure once we get to $10 million, the projects that we're gonna work on now are gonna be, 20 to $30 million. And that's just part of it, man, you know? But the goal is to always keep going that route and always keep moving and always keep expanding and growing the brand.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like there'll be people out there that have started a business, or they think about business right now as just like, oh, if I just get to this number, then I'll just be set. And like, it's not really like the analogy I said earlier on is like, if someone just goes to the gym to be healthy
Yeah.
versus like a bodybuilder going to like build the best, biggest physique that he can. Like right now, you're of the mindset where you're just trying to build the biggest, best gym empire that you can build.
Yeah.
And was it always like that again at the start, or was it a certain point where like you just got out of just like needing to worry about the business maybe going under or something like that, and then you got to think bigger, or was that always because your vision has expanded as time has gone on?
Yeah, I think I started thinking about expansion a lot more whenever COVID happened. 100%. I realized that the what I was doing had potential, like big potential of becoming something bigger,
Yeah.
and I was like upset that I didn't scale fast enough or faster, and I didn't get to see it grow
What
up.
was it about COVID that made you think that?
Well, I think I was just like scared that something like that could happen again, and I didn't get to see the baby grow up. So
So it scared you that maybe like it would have got. Did you have fears that maybe the business would go under in COVID, or
100%. Oh
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I realized how comfortable I was getting during those first 2 years, and I wasn't thinking of the bigger picture. So going shutting down for 7 weeks, and just going in there and seeing it empty every single day, I was like, this can go under at any moment. Anything can just take us
They
take
like
us
really
away.
like kind of rock your reality a bit.
Yes, I was like, whenever we open back up, we're gonna go hard again, and we're gonna expand, and we're gonna make this one of the biggest gyms in Houston. That was my goal right after that. And everything was aligning with that vision after we were able to open back up. We had a few gyms that had shut down in the area, and a lot of those people were looking for a new gym, and we became that gym to a lot of people. So it increased our monthly revenue like crazy. We almost 2x it, almost, of what we were making. So that's what gave us the funds to go bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, and also, yeah, another thing that I only moved from, I was living in Santa Barbara to Houston in November. And one thing that's notorious about Houston is the hurricanes, and it has like, crazy weather sometimes. So like, is that something that you've actually had to deal with? Like the hurricanes, has that destroyed any of the building before, or like that just hasn't affected you?
It hasn't affected me, to be honest with you. Last time we had one last year, we ended up we closed down obviously while the hurricane was happening.
Yeah.
Once it was gone, we opened back up. We had no power or anything like that,
Yeah.
but we just wanted to at least be accessible to members, the people that were able to make it down here, right? So we just opened our doors. Staff, everybody was like, "Yeah, let's go back to work." They didn't want to be at home. I was here, so a lot of people were happy that we were opening.
Yeah. The one thing that I've experienced since being here, you were like one of the only gyms that opened when it snowed in like, was it January or something like
Well,
that?
that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. It's part of it's part of what we provide. We're open and staff 24/7.
Yeah.
We never close. Unless things like that make us close. But as soon as it's gone, we open back up. No power or power.
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
100%. One other thing, just another topic to do with managing your own business, not working for someone else, but then having to wear all the hats at the beginning. How did you manage your time, and like, how has that developed over the years? Because time management for an entrepreneur is, definitely a challenge, which if they've been in school their whole lives, or they've been in education or even in a job, it's completely different because in a job and all that, you turn up at a certain time and you do X task, but it's really very open ended for an entrepreneur. Like, you have to figure out what's the highest, leverage task that I can do right now, and it can probably get overwhelming. Like, how have you navigated that as
So
time goes on?
I told myself a long time ago, the time management wasn't going to be a thing for me. If I needed to be here, I was going to be here regardless of how long I needed to be here, regardless who was at home
Just
waiting
get the
for
job
me.
done.
Yeah, I needed to get the job done. So, I mean, those first 3 years, I didn't really spend a lot of time with family. I mean, the first 5 years, I didn't spend a lot of time with family. I was here all the time. I mean, you can ask some of the members. They've seen me here at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. There was a point where I was short staffed, so I was working double shifts, so I had to be here 16 hours. Our shifts were 8 hours at the time. I was here. Like I knew that was I made peace with that. If I need to be here, I will be here because I want to see this succeed. And then whenever we started building those systems and things like that, I slowly started backing off from certain positions, but I was still required to be here all the time. We didn't have a cleaning system. We didn't have like certain things that we have now. So I can be a little bit more hands off, but it did took 7 years to get to this point where I can just, let the baby walk on its own.
Yeah. And talking about babies, you just have a 2-month-old right now.
Yes, yes, yes. I just had a baby 2 months
Yeah,
ago. Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. I
And
appreciate
that's
it.
that's obviously a big change in your life. So how does that affect things with the business? I guess, like, you can still, when you're looking to scale and things like that, that's not you're not necessarily in that, like, working those shifts, but like you're the
Yes.
mastermind behind it, and that gives you more time to spend with the kid. Or
No, that's why I waited so long to even have a kid in the first place.
yeah,
Because I knew that
you wanted this to be set before you thought about the
yes,
family.
because I knew this was going to be priority at any time. So I didn't want to feel like something was taking me away from this. But I would say for the past 8 9 months, it's been a little bit more chill on my end, where I can actually like take days off, spend time at home, spend time with wife, family, and now a baby. So now that I'm able to enjoy those things, that's why I felt like it was time to kind of like bring a little man in here.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's awesome. And you also, another story is that you didn't treat yourself because you invested. So at what age was it where you actually treat yourself for the first time?
27 years old.
27 years
27 years
old.
old. I moved out of my parents' house into my apartment, and I bought my first exotic car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me about that experience. It wasn't.
Oh, it was great. I bought the car that I've been like dreaming of for the longest time. It was an Audi R8. So I bought that, and when I was 16, I had shown my dad a picture of the car, my dream car, and it was an Audi R8 because of Tony Stark. Tony Stark had an R8, so I wanted one. And so I would show him the picture of the car that I wanted, and I told him, and I was like, one day I'm gonna have a car like this parked in front of the house of my mom's house, their house. And it was like a funny, like, we smiled and everything. And then whenever I got the car, I went and parked it in front of my mom's house, took a picture of it, and I sent it to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like one of those, like,
Crazy
it felt really
moments.
good. Yes, it felt really, really good. Yeah, yeah. And then later on, I ended up buying him a brand new truck as well too. I bought my mom a brand new truck
That's
as
awesome.
well,
Yeah.
and I ended up selling my R8, and I bought a Lamborghini 3 years ago.
Damn. Is that still to this day the car of choice?
I sold it last year, yes,
Okay. Yeah.
but I loved it. Yeah, miles were getting a little up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I took advantage of it while I had it
Yeah.
for sure.
It's interesting, actually. I've never been the biggest car guy, but growing up in the UK, in London, like, it's very much people just take public transport, and there are obviously good cars in central London, but like, really, a lot of people, they don't have the craziest car. So it's actually, I feel like in Texas, coming here, and obviously there's no public transport. You need to drive everywhere. Like, cars are like a bigger thing. Has that always been a big thing for you? Like, interest in cars?
I love cars ever since I was a kid. My dad, he used to work at this restaurant, and outside of the restaurant, they would sell like little cars. So he would bring them to me. This is back when we lived in Mexico, and he would bring me the little cars. It was like some Hot Wheels, like off-brand Hot Wheel cars. So I would have like a collection of them. So I was big into cars. Yes, yes, yes. And then whenever my first car was a 2024 Mach 1 Mustang, Ford Mustang. So I love that thing. It was a salvage car, but I mean, it felt like a new car to me at the time. Yeah. So yeah, I love that thing, and then I just grew like a love for cars back then.
Yeah. And what actually was the trigger for you to, say I can treat myself? Because, growing up as well, you mentioned being in your in the workshop and seeing like maybe friends pull up in better cars,
Not friends, customers.
customers
There
pull
was
up in better
there was
cars,
kids my age. I'd say when I was like 18, 19 years old. There was like 20,
and the
21
fact
year
you knew
olds.
more about cars as well, like you probably like,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
they
yeah,
would
yeah.
pull up in like newer Challengers, newer Mustangs, and uh, um, it was like I didn't like feel bad for myself, but
He just motivated you more, or
I
just
was
like,
just like, damn, I could have that because was making enough money at the time, but I saw it as like it's gonna take away from what I'm trying to build here, and that's I think that's been my mindset, for a long time. That's why last year I sold my TRX, I sold my Lamborghini. I bought a house because the plan was to have a kid, so I wanted to set that up first. And now we have this big project that we're doing this year, and I want to make sure that nothing takes away from that. So I'm using all the money that I was able to get from the cars that I sold last year. All that is going into the new project that we're building this year.
interesting, yeah. I read a book called The Psychology of Money, and it talks about how one of the biggest mistakes for people like making money is obviously they flaunt the money, they feel like they need to spend it, but like wealth and money are two different, they're opposites, because
Yes,
wealth is actually silent, no one can see the money, but with like to show you if you're earning money, you feel like you need to show it, then actually that's almost counterproductive, because if you invest it back in the business, it becomes more valuable, and then it can turn into like what it is today kind of thing.
for sure. Well, you get more tax benefits from buying real estate than you do vehicles, for sure. A vehicle depreciates. A property goes up in value over time, but you can use that depreciation of your taxes, of what you're paying for what's it called, interest, for that year. So there's a lot of benefits to actually buying a property than there is buying, a vehicle.
Yeah. Did you think that did you have like people call it like shiny objects like when you were coming up, and obviously the gym is the focus, getting more customers, making the product better, getting better equipment, just maybe then changing the gym, were there other maybe business adventures or side hustles that were like enticing to you, but you had to like discipline yourself to not do it? Or it really has not, you were so into this, like it's really not been hard to like, just put all your focus into this?
No, there's definitely been ideas that I've had that I'm like, oh, I would kill it if I started doing this, but not gym related. But I've been able to kind of like step myself back in and realize that we made it this far because this has been my only focus for the past 7 years.
Yeah. So the phrase that like what's it, like most millionaires have like seven streams of income, but like that's like, it's don't look at that, because how they got there is they had one thing that worked, and then they diversified. Are you a big believer in that? Like you've seen that work for yourself?
No, I see me being in the fitness only in the fitness scene. The goal right now is to generate enough money to where we can buy bigger properties. So I do want to be in the real estate side of things, but I want to buy buildings and build gyms inside of those buildings. Yeah, but everything gym related, man.
So yeah, it's interesting, because it's like then since a young age you've come into the gym space, and like again you're not thinking of doing anything unrelated. You're just stacking skills on skills on skills in this one area, like the gym space. Like you just got, yeah, like would you, first of all, looking back to your younger self now, like if you met yourself at like 19 when you had this gym idea, would the difference absolutely blow you away? Like how much you actually know now about the gym stuff versus someone like that. Like if you were back in that body, you'd be able to do like stuff so much quicker because you wouldn't make the mistakes.
Yes, 100%. Oh yeah.
And another question is, since doing the gym stuff now, like you mentioned, you started with passion. But for example, there's guys that like start bodybuilding and they like have a passion for it, but maybe they see that their physique, they had a passion for it, but then they go to like compete or something and they
I always
realize,
tell people not to follow passion, man, because at the end of the day, it's gonna turn into work. Especially if you want to scale. It just comes down to like, do you really want to scale the business? I mean, passion can get you to the door. It can probably get you through a few months, maybe a year, but after that, it starts becoming work. So that's I'm telling you from like self experience. Like the whole bodybuilding thing was like that's what got me to wanting to open up my own gym. After that, I didn't have time to work out. I didn't have time to meal prep. I mean, it took me away from that. And I realized that I'm either going to focus on the business or I'm going to try to do this bodybuilding thing.
but work was the
So
main thing.
I gave up that and I said, I'm going to focus completely on the business. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we are where we are today.
Yeah. Something I'm wondering about that though is, you know, with the bodybuilding, like some, just as an example, some people do it and then they realize, oh, I don't have the genetics later on. Or some people, they have the same passion, then they actually step on the stage and they realize I'm so gifted at this. Like when you started the gym stuff, you kind of said it was like almost you saw it as an opportunity and it was almost like out of necessity. But did you like build, like every single thing was like a new challenge, like, maybe hiring the first employee, getting the equipment, like, I don't know, fixing the lights and like, figuring out negotiating equipment. Like, there's all these like micro skills within being like a gym owner. Do you now look back and think I'm actually like talented at this? Or is that not really, it's not, it's more like you just are good at solving problems and it just happens to be that you're a gym owner. Does that make sense?
I think so. I don't know. I think that, yeah, maybe I am just good at solving problems, and I'm good at hiring, people
So
and
you
things
you
like
you
that.
wouldn't have to do a gym business. Like, you could have done another business, but it just happens to be this one that
I
you've.
think regardless of the business, I would have done really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, because there's some athletes obviously, and you know, there could be a tennis player who's not going to be good at bodybuilding or like rugby or something, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they have this talent in this one thing, and they're like really gifted at one
I
thing.
think it's just business in general. I think all of business is essentially the same thing at like its core.
Yeah,
So I think if you can replicate that in any industry, I think I'll be just fine. Yes.
interesting.
So I always like, if the gym thing didn't work, not that I had a plan B, but I always like had that in the back of my head. Well, for some reason, if we go under, well, I can always go and sell cars. I can always start my own car lot and maybe hopefully turn it into a dealership eventually, Or I can always start a mechanic shop because I've worked with cars for such a long time. I'm pretty good at navigating my way around a vehicle.
Interesting. Yeah.
So regardless of what I would do, I think I would have done just fine.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I would have made as much money as like this has, but it would have been successful in its own way.
You were never like, I guess that's almost like a comfort. Like, if for whatever reason things didn't work out, like it's not like you had a plan B, but like you knew you weren't gonna like, you had skill set to like, make money doing something else.
Yeah, and in the meantime, like I've collected a reasonable amount of assets throughout the past 7 years, not just from equipment, but from properties and things like that. So if for some reason this wasn't to work out, I mean, I'll be set regardless.
Did you invest in real estate just outside of buying gym
Yes,
equipment?
yes, yes. So I would be set in that aspect of things.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
the income that I have coming in from the gym is only funding gym stuff. Like, it's funding expense. It's not funding my own personal life. For that, we have other things that we do that involve more real estate things.
interesting. But that skill of getting the real estate, you got from learning how to like find gyms, and you just applied that to like your like buying houses for yourself to make money.
Yeah, it's just coming up with the funds at the beginning. Once you come up with the funds to buy certain things, and yeah, you're good after that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and then switching into the future now, like, so the goal next 5 to 10 years, 5 years is 5 to 10 locations in Houston. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, 5 to 10 locations. So I had this conversation with my marketing guy. He's a great friend of mine. His name is Jonathan. I 100% believe that within the next 5 years, and I have a deadline of when I'm 35, I can grow the Roman thing into $100 million brand. And I am a firm believer that we can do that. It's just gonna take a lot of discipline and a lot of focus, and I feel it. So, like, for example, this year, we're gonna be announcing our first location. For everybody that's watching, it's not gonna be Roman Empire Gym. It's gonna be something else. But
No name yet.
no, well, we have a name. I have a name, but I'm not gonna announce it
okay,
just yet. That's gonna be one of 10.
Yeah.
I think that if we focus and we put all of our resources into acquiring 5 to 10 properties, I think that realistically we're gonna end up somewhere in the middle within the next 5 years. But I want to have at least 8 gyms operating here in the Houston area, all around the Houston area. And I think that the first one that I'm making, the one that's going to be announced this year, I think that's really going to set the standards for gyms in Houston 100%.
Interesting.
Yes. There's a lot of money that's going into it. The location is an amazing location. And I think the marketing behind it is going to be a little bit different than Roman Empire's is. That's why we're not merging them. But I think it's going to set the footprint of something a lot bigger than this. 100%.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like if you're listening to this, I'm doing a graph with my hand, but like the first 10 years of business, you're just you're finding the skills, you're failing up and down, getting customers, figuring out how to market the best gym equipment, like how to please customers, etc. And then like it's taken you that long to almost develop the skills.
Yes.
And then now you have the skills, you can just, that's how it happens so quickly. Some people might be like, well, you had one gym for like 10 years,
Yeah.
like, and now you have 5 to 10 more in like 1 year, like that sounds crazy.
That's the approach that we decided to take because this expansion was supposed to happen 2 years ago. One, we didn't have quite the funds to go all out like we have now. We didn't have the brand that we currently have. The presence in the area, it wasn't as strong as it is right now. The community wasn't as well developed as it is right now. So we were trying to just kind of like sharpen in the axe. That's what Jonathan calls it. So we can chop down the tree a lot faster.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if that's literally what we've been working at for the past 2 years, like creating the systems so we can actually bring those systems into another facility to where it can be a turnkey at any moment, which means you can sell the business whenever you like. That is not the goal, but I want to set it up like that to where there's no key man risk, which just takes me completely out of the equation. And this next facility is going to be the test to that. Can we really go into market with this new system and without having me involved in the operation side of things? If we can nail that down, then we're golden. We're gonna multiply that by 10 within the next 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so the next, yeah, so you're gonna have the gyms in Houston. If that works, and your prediction is correct, where the key man U is out of the picture and it still functions and operates on its own, then you can scale to places like Las Vegas, or where else in mind is just all over America,
All over America, man. That's the goal.
and then global.
I mean, who knows,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean they have Gold's gyms in like Europe and stuff, so
Yeah, the goal is to open up more here in key areas. Like Vegas is definitely one of them. What's it called? Florida is definitely another one. LA is another one. I want to move outside of here, but we need to generate the funds to be able to do those things. Because if we're going to be building a gym in, for instance, Florida, then I want to be able to open up one there. I want to be able to open up multiple at the same time. That's the realistic goal.
yeah. And again with that, it's just it's crazy because it's just a complete, like, scaling is a completely different skill to like what it took to get you to where you are right now.
Yeah.
So again with that, like, do you need to are you like having other people come help you, or like how do you learn this new like how do you just learn this new skill to like obviously when you're saying it right now it makes sense, but like how do you actually learn how to do that? You know what I mean?
Well, it's right now. Right now, that's what I'm trying to test out, like this next facility.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have quite mastered the skills to do that just yet. But I don't want to bring in investors or anything like that. I just want to do it out of my out of our capabilities of doing things like that. So yeah, I just feel like I have to do it first to gain those skills, to see where I need to work on, what I need to work on, and see how we can perfect that. But if we can nail it down close enough to where we just have to tweak a few things here and there, then that's perfect. But I don't feel like I've developed those skills just yet until we actually go in there and do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you
And
can have the theory of it. Like I always tell people, like you can have somebody, you can read a book on how to swim. You're not gonna know how to swim just
yeah,
by
you
reading the
need to
book.
do
You
it
have to
and
go
then
in there and jump in the water and actually start swimming. So I feel like for this past 7 years, we've been just kind of like just like we've been swimming, but on not deep waters just yet. Now we want to start going towards that route to where we can start getting a little bit deeper and deeper.
yeah. And what is it just that mindset of, as I said, the bodybuilding example, like where you want to build the best, biggest thing, like, you know, you just want to keep pushing, you know what I'm saying? Where does that come from,
I just want to build something that's going to be around when I'm no longer here.
Yeah, like a legacy.
Yes, 100%. Something that future family can look at and say, "Oh yeah, our grandpa did this," or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it about generating that like generational wealth for your family?
Not necessarily. I don't really care too much about that. It's just building that brand that's going to last for a very long time, and I want to be the founder of it.
Yeah.
In the gym space.
Like changing the world and like, and like having something that is there and it's
Or like just enhancing someone's day-to-day life, man, because a lot of people see the gym as an outlet. They spend an hour, 2 hours here. It's like a good, like you're clocking out of life in a sense. You come in here, put your headphones on, and that's how I felt, personally. So I just want to provide that same feeling for thousands of people, man, if not millions.
100%. And with founders, is there any in particular, like not even gym related, but like, is it like, founders of Walmart, or like America has so many amazing founders. Is there any that in particular you take inspiration from, or like, maybe you've read their books, or maybe you've met them, or, even outside of fitness?
For sure. I like McDonald's approach to things.
Really?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. I like the concept that somebody else came in and saw the bigger vision of things, and the owners or the founders actually ended up getting bought out at some point because
So
they
you want to
did.
do that, but without some, you're gonna just have that
Yes,
vision.
I
Yeah,
have that vision for
yeah,
it. I can be the founder and have that vision for it. So instead of having somebody come in here and guide the ship, I think I can guide the ship into those big waters, man.
awesome. Is there anyone else apart from McDonald's, or is that really like one of the main ones?
That's really one of the main ones, man. I mean, there's I like Apple's approach. They move slow, but I mean they're dominant in the market. I think they like taking their time with things, but every time they come out with something, it's quality.
Yeah.
And I see myself as something like that because we could have pumped out a bunch of gyms by now. With the funds that we have, but they would have been that watered down versions of this, as opposed to just taking our time with it and building something that's good. So I think right now what we're gonna be pumping out this year, it's I think it's gonna change a lot of things here in the Houston area.
Interesting. I read the autobiography of Steve Jobs, and one of the things that like they were saying they were thinking separates Apple is like the simplicity of it, and with gyms, I guess there's you have a big gym, and like you have a lot of different pieces. You have the powerlifting, you have the bodybuilding, and the CrossFit, and I'm sure that's evolved over time. But what do you think about your like for them like simplicity stood out, and that was like a compared to like a Samsung or something like that stood out. What do you think about your like gym model or like the vision you have for gyms, and you've developed over time? Like, what do you think separates you from other gyms, like in your own words?
I think, well, for this one specifically, I think that what truly separates us from any other gym is definitely the gym equipment, the experience that you have whenever you walk in, because a lot of gyms don't have good customer service, and that's one of the things that we like to provide. And I think the fact that you can come in here and actually work out. I feel like a lot of people appreciate that. So we try to protect that as much as possible, just like the atmosphere of the facility. So I think those are the three things that differentiate that makes us different, from any other gym in the
Yeah.
area.
And then when it comes to like when the key man is out, when you're not here telling people like how can you be sure that one thing written down on paper to get the employees to be have a certain culture or energy or like that customer experience. How I mean you haven't done it yet, but like how
No, we started.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this year. This year I was no longer involved with the whole gym at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I just spent
You just come
time.
because it's your baby, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I just spent time on the marketing side of things. Yeah, that's what I'm putting more efforts towards because that's actually what I actually enjoy.
Is that something you're worried about though when you expand that maybe it's hard to convey that if you're not there? Or I guess you just said that here, but like people still know you come here, for example. You know what I mean? Like imagine like a McDonald's, like one McDonald had the great customer experience, but like if you have all these McDonald's, how do you keep that, like
That's one of the things that I feel like it happens as you
yeah,
scale. Like
just
quality
comes with the
control
territory.
kind of thing becomes a problem 100%. But that's just I think it's part of it, and it's just like what are some things that you can do to kind of like prevent that as much as possible,
Yeah.
and can you prevent it for 90% of the time? You know. But I think eventually it is going to happen. The bigger, the more you scale. Like you'll go to a 24-hour fitness, might not have the same customer service as the other 24-hour fitness 30 minutes away from it. So yeah, that is you have to rely on people for that. But as long as you can create a good brand that people want to be a part of, I feel like it's going to attract good quality people. And as long as you have good hiring processes, I think that's going to help out a lot too.
Yeah. And what do you think is the end vision for, you know, uh, you know, you building gyms? Like, do you ever plan on stopping working? Are you gonna be one of those people who's like 90 years old? Hopefully, you live that long, and you're gonna be keep working because it's just in your blood, or are you someone that I don't know. You obviously built something great already, and if it scales, you kind of could be taken out of it. Is that something then maybe spend more time with
No,
family and
because I enjoy what I do, man. I don't see myself ever stop doing it. I mean, I enjoy it. I've been doing it for 7 years. It still feels the same way every time I walk in, and I know it's gonna feel the exact same way 7 years later. So I just don't see myself taking myself out of the equation ever.
yeah,
I always want to be involved. I think this is probably gonna be because I live like 30 minutes away, so this is probably gonna be the location that I always go back to. The first one, the founder of everything. So I don't see myself ever like not work just because I don't see it as work. Like it's fun.
yeah,
I get to meet a lot of cool people. I like spending time with staff members. I like spending time with members. Like I just enjoy everything that has to do with the whole gym owning thing. Yeah.
Do you feel like as men, like that kind of feeling of community, or like, like feeling useful and like knowing that you're helping, you're providing a service that helps people is like necessary. Like yeah, just like you do this because you want to and it makes you feel good and like, it feels like right. As
Yeah.
opposed to like, even if you could just step out and just, not worry about it anymore and it'll run itself, like then it's just you wouldn't feel that quality of life in a sense, or like just like meaning, or you know what I mean?
I feel like every person has to have like a bigger, like a higher purpose kind of thing, besides themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that the faster you can find that, the more fulfillment you'll find in your life, 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now, there's a lot of lost people out there, a lot of people that are just going through life every day, just circling through life, going just to the day to day motion. They don't really have any goals or anything like that, you know. So I feel like once you're able to find that like higher calling kind of thing, I feel like the faster you find fulfillment in your life, 100%. And it's not money. I don't think that's a good thing to strive for,
Yeah.
because I feel like most people are going to be very disappointed if they do get there and all they have is money. I feel like relationships, family, and for me personally, providing something that I created to thousands of people,
Yeah.
I find that very rewarding. I've had the nice cars. I've had, we're doing pretty good. There's no fulfillment in that at all, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that, so you mentioned when you were growing up, like feeling lost was something that you were struggling with. Like if you could go back and give like advice to people who are younger, or even like they didn't find their calling as early, would you just, your main thing just be like keep looking, you know what I'm saying? Like keep trying to find something that makes you like, feel like you're doing something bigger than yourself.
100%. I mean, I think that we're all good at something. We got to figure out what we're good at first.
Yeah.
I feel like once you figure out what you're good at, you have to align that with something bigger than you, and I feel like that's what I did.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I felt lost because I just moving around too much. I didn't have a home in a sense. And so once I figure out what I wanted to do and what my calling was, it didn't matter where I was at. I could get it done anywhere. I didn't need to have like a feeling of home, because I was just so locked into that higher vision and higher.
Is there a religious background in that, or is it just yeah, it's just like just a high calling and like something bigger than yourself?
Something bigger than myself. Oh yeah, and I always tell people this. I'm not a big religious individual, but I do know that everything that has led me here, 90% of it has been out of my doing, 100%, because there's been some scenarios that I'm like, how did this happen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Positive scenarios, and I feel like there's definitely something out there guiding and opening doors, closing the wrong doors. But I always end up in the right door at some point. It's just being patient and showing up every day, and obviously working. You're not just gonna. It's not just gonna present to you, and you're just sitting on the couch. Like you have to show up, you have to work, you have to try to do something, and doors will open up eventually. That's been my personal experience.
Yeah. Do you believe in like manifestation, or kind of that? As in, you mentioned earlier on, like you visualizing things and them coming to life. I mean,
No, I don't believe in manifestation, man. I think that's just what lazy people like to say. I think that if you're working towards something
yeah,
and you truly believe in it, right? I don't think you have to.
it's just action.
It's just action, man.
You need to have like a goal in mind that you're going for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have action. I've met people that manifest a lot of things, man. Their work efforts don't align with what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But I've seen people that work their asses off, man, and they don't go anywhere in life either. So if you're gonna be working, you have to have a plan of action, and then that action has to lead to something, and you have to have that in the back of your head at all times. Because you have people that are working their asses off every single day. They never really move. It's like they stay stagnant, and you have individuals that might not be working like that every single day, but they end up creating huge success by just doing something else that maybe didn't require as much work. You know what I'm saying? So it's just identifying what you're good at, following that, and attaching what you're good at to whatever it is, that higher calling.
Yeah. Not just
Side of
working hard for
things.
the sake of working hard, but like actually doing it towards something that.
Towards something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a better way of putting
Yeah.
it.
100%. And then I guess to finish off, I wanted to ask you, um, really, after you know being an entrepreneur, building up Roman Empire or the first gym, and then coming here. to this amazing location. I trained here. It's got amazing equipment, amazing atmosphere, like the best bodybuilding equipment I've ever trained at. And it is very inspiring to hear someone that has, had your background and come here and made a massive, you know what I'm saying? Like just something that, you have thousands of customers, you definitely make their lives better. And like some advice that you've learned along the way, primarily for people who are younger, I'm thinking, but maybe just earlier in their journeys. Like what would be some advice that maybe you wish you heard at like 19 or something? Or maybe you don't really wish you had any advice, but other
Well,
people
some
out there.
advice that I heard and I took was don't waste any time. Like if you're young, if you have the privilege of having both of your parents and you're living at home, take advantage of that. Take advantage of anything that's around you because we all have something that others don't, right? I had a few things that some people didn't, and I used that, and that's what allowed me to be here. So look for those things and don't make up any excuses. Whatever it is that you want to do, it can be done. There's people that are doing it every single day at any age, right? It doesn't matter the age, but the faster you start, the better. You don't have as much time as you think you have. It seems like just yesterday I was 15, today I'm 30 years old, and tomorrow I'm going to be 45. So time goes by really, really fast. So you don't have time, and that's one of the things that I hate when people say. It's like, oh, you're only 20, you got a lot of time to think about it. No, you don't. You got to start today, because the faster you get started, the faster you're going to get to whatever destination it is that you want to get.
Yeah. And try and build momentum. How important has momentum been for, getting to where you are?
Oh,
Like,
very, very.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Momentum is everything, man. You just gotta keep moving. Yeah.
100%. Well, I think it's been an amazing podcast.
Thank you.
Really appreciate having you on. And I think, is that, where can they find you on Instagram? I know you want to grow your personal brand as
Yeah,
of right
so
now.
it's just George Roman underscore, and then the gym page is Roman Empire Gym. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for making it to the end of the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.